Good. Hello everybody, thank you all for coming. We've got loads of people here tonight. Can you see me or am I blending in? It's either really bright or really dark over here. So welcome to the Cottonwood. This is not a hotel anymore, but we'll find out a bit about that later. But we've been gifted this lovely ballroom for this evening. So we might have a dance later, perhaps, who knows? Nobody wants to see my dance moves.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you do? All right. Andy, see me, you're going to get a special private event. Yeah, special private event for you both.
Oh, please no.
I've worked with both those two, so they know me. So welcome. Yeah, there's loads of you here tonight. We seem to be missing a couple at the moment, but it's a big turnout tonight. It's our fourth event and probably our biggest event so far. We had the capability for 100 tickets tonight, but I didn't get told that till very late, so we haven't quite managed to sell those. We're lucky enough that we actually already have April, May, June, July, August already sorted out as well, with primary speakers as well. So do sign up to Eventbrite, come follow us on LinkedIn and things like that. Keep an eye out because we're doing lots of things here. So we're going to skip on to looking at our speakers. So we've got 3 speakers tonight, 2 lightning talks and 1 slightly longer talk. Our first up is Miguel, who's a software engineer, and he's going to tell us how to get a job without a degree, which is very useful for a lot of people. Then we have Kerry, my lovely wife, who's run away again. Don't think she wants to speak tonight. And she's going to tell us about her first year of being a YouTuber and some of the technologies that are involved in that. And then we'll have George, who's head of development, which I assume he means software development. Where's George? Hiding. Hi, George. Software development? Of course. Right, okay. Just checking. Who's going to tell us a bit about PHP and why we should all use it. And as somebody who does .NET for a living, I'm not sure I'm convinced. But feel free to try and convince me, George. Okay. So we'll have Miguel and Kerry first. And then we'll have a break, and then George will be after the break, and we'll try and fit some networking in the meantime between that. The timing's not so rigid today, so hopefully we'll get a bit of a chance to network a little, and I'll actually get a chance to say hello rather than just go, what's your name, and run off. So that's it. Andrew's not here, so Miguel, you're going to start us off. There you go. All right, big round of applause for Miguel.
Okay, good evening everyone. So I'll be here to speak to you about what does it mean and how do you get a job without a CS degree, in this case a computer science degree. So to start off, most people over the years have had the idea that you need to have a degree as a computer science degree in order to have a chance to have a job in the tech industry. And sometimes some of the common thoughts that you might be able to get is you can't afford to leave the day job that you're currently on. For whatever reason, maybe you have family, have kids, you might not want to spend all that time on a degree and not have that guarantee, because nowadays with the competitive market, you're not quite sure if it's going to be finish the degree and get a job straight away. There's a lot of things that are between finishing the degree and getting the job, and sometimes nice study might become an option or bootcamps. So you might fall into something which is a tutorial and job application loop, which starts off as you search for a job. Let's say you want to work for JP Morgan, okay? And JP Morgan's main stack is usually Java. There's a few React jobs, but mainly Java. So say you haven't started learning any language, and you're going to go for Java. I'm going to learn Java. I'm going to get a job at JP Morgan, okay? So you apply. You say you've made like a project, you follow yourself a few tutorials on YouTube, made a project, and apply, and say you got ghosted or you didn't get successful. What are you going to do? Well, I spent all this time on this stack, on Java for example, and now I didn't get this job. I'm going to search for another job. But the thing is, there's so many languages, so many stacks that you have to learn to get a job wherever, that you're just going to go into a loop. Okay, let's learn a new stack. Oh, this one needs React, for example. Let's learn React. and you never actually end up becoming good at a specific stack. So the cycle repeats. So what are players actually looking for? So what have you actually learned from each project that you've worked on? Did you, for example, in the first project that you've learned with Python, for example, what was it that you learned? Did you learn classes? Or specifically what you learned? So document every time you create a project, every time you work with someone on anything, even just like a personal project, just document what is that you've learned from each time and challenge yourself, which is quite important. Do you actually understand what we've created? And what does this mean? So say you go on Facebook, on YouTube I mean, and you create a duplicate of Facebook or of Instagram. That's great, there are tutorials that will tell you how to do that. But the thing is, do you actually understand how to do that? And also, you have to try and make it your own. So don't just make Instagram, make it a bit of a twist. Understand what was it that you've done, not just follow the steps, understand what you've done, and then just add a twist into it. Something that can make it your own, which is very important. The impact that your applications have had. So for example, if you've done a tool that is like automates a process that you have for whatever reason in a specific sector, what was it that impacted? Like how much time is saved when you use that process, when you use the application or that tool that you've created. And it's important to go through that, because if you show the impact that the application that you've created, that automation tool that you've created has had, will actually help the recruiter to understand, okay, this was actually helpful and that was the reason why it was created. And your problem solving skills. So you will find a lot of errors from the beginning to the end of development, something that you really didn't expect, and then sometimes you just have to change things on a way that you really didn't expect. And so it will be important for you to show the recruiter and show everyone that are responsible for the application that you're in and for the job process to understand, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. So how do you actually break the loop? For starters, if you're a person that is focused on getting a job, limit how many applications, and not just the job applications. Limit the stack that you're doing. Focus on making a good job application. Don't just focus on doing the easy apply on LinkedIn. Yes, that can get you a chance if you have a good application. But it's very important to understand the company that you're applying for, their company values, and basically things like that. And making sure that you focus on one stack, as I said before. Because say you do want to work in JP Morgan, but you don't get a job in JP Morgan, focus on Java. If it was Java that you start with, continue with Java. It might be that you might not enjoy the stack that you're going to start with, and well, I'm tired, I'm going to change. But try not to make too many changes, try to focus on creating projects with a stack, and then you actually have learned something from it. Don't just stop midway. Creating your story. This is very important, because when you're applying for a company, what is most people think about? It's usually money, okay? People are thinking, is it money? You're not going to go into that and say, well, I'm here for money. No. It's very important that you explain what was the journey from point A to point B. So from the moment that you started learning how to do Python, Java, whatever it was, to the point that you're there, in that moment, speaking with the recruiter, what was the reason that you want to work for that company? Not for the money. Do you like the company values? Do you like the fact that the company has worked for so many years and has a reputable, presence in the industry, that you feel safe, or you like what the company stands for? You like their values, you like that they're an eco company. Whatever the reason it is, you need to make sure that you know why you're applying to that company. So, another thing is practicing before interviews. This is very important, and this is also because of the problem-solving skills that I was mentioning. For example, Code Wars or LeetCode. LeetCode is usually paid for, Code Wars is free, which allows you to practice every day. So, for example, I myself do that, and there are exercises, there are problems and challenges that I can't do that in one day. However, if you go day by day and you explore that problem, you explore the solutions, you explore how the solutions and how the people manage to get to the solution, eventually you are able to do problems on your own. And then most of you will know, but I will still explain. So usually on, let's say, boilerplate interview process is usually a recruiter. That's the first stage. The second stage, you will have a tech test. So you usually have some sort of a test regarding something. Sometimes you might have to go to the company. Sometimes it just be something online that you have to solve and then explain to the hires how you solve the problem and what was the steps that you took to get there. And that way, if you practice, you will be ready when you get to the interview. It's not just something like, well, I wish the interviewer would like me. No, you're actually ready for it. And the behavioral interview questions. So questions like, what was a difficult time that you've had with another colleague, and there was an argument between you two, how did you solve it? Things like that are questions that you usually, and you can find many of them online, just go on Google, there's a whole list of them. But if you're ready, if you know exactly what you're going to say, you're prepared, you have a much higher chance to get hired, or at least get noticed, than if you just go in and just ramble on and on. So, question for the audience. What is gained in any job doesn't have to be tech after some time? Anyone?
Experience?
Okay, could be, yes. There is not quite, it's quite there, but I'll just have one more person.
Knowledge?
Knowledge, yes, something like that. So basically, repetition, okay? So you get to understand the steps to perform a job. Even if you're doing burgers in McDonald's, you still have a process, okay? And what can you do with that process? That process, you might actually find ways that you can circumvent. You might be able to automate, not necessarily on that case, but you might be able to find a way to speed up the process. And what am I trying to say with this? So creating your own projects, okay? And how are you going to find a reason, or what is going to be a motive, or what is going to be a project about? Are you just going to make something in Java, for example, so you can get a job in JP Morgan? It depends. Every person is different, okay? The motivation for you to learn something will be different. In my case, for me, I like to have a reason to do the projects. And for example, identifying pain points in your work or life. So if you have, in your job, for example, if you're creative or whatever it might be, you might have a way to automate the project or automate the processes that you're doing and be able to speed it up. I remember having one of my colleagues, he was working on a printer, and he would have to check, I think, 6 or 7 printers all at the same time, and then he created these LEDs, and he would just sit on his table, and when each of the printer would be finished, one of the LEDs would light on. He wouldn't have to be going around checking everything, it was just there, the LEDs were there, and all he had to do was just check. The light would go on, and this printer has finished. That's just one of the things that you could do. It's not like you're going to go into a hire and it's like, oh, you've done this, oh great, you got this job in JP Morgan. No. However, that's one of the things. You start to think on how you can actually automate things, and that creates a problem-solving mindset that you can then use for areas that you're going to do. Concept ways of improving them, to creating processes. It's pretty much what I said. And important is, will the client pay for this? Now, it's important as well because sometimes you need a bit of motivation to start and you'll be creating projects that might not really look like a client will actually pay for that. However, if you are going to apply for a company and you want to show this to a client, or you want to show this to a hire, it's good for you to improve it, make it look a bit better than what it is right now, and make it look a bit more professional. If you like to make applications about Japanese animations, for example, maybe change that and instead make it about a restaurant, something that looks a bit more professional, that you can make it as if you have made it for a client, or if you actually did that with a mindset to be sold in a way that you can show to the company, I have done this, and it's something that a client could pay for. Always helps. Now, for example, this is some of my projects. So, I would spend an enormous amount of time on Windows on the favorites folder, on the quick processes. So basically, I would add a few folders in here, and per project I would add, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. And then you finish a project, and you have 5 folders there. And you create a different project, and you have 5 more folders, and you end up with an enormous amount of folders. And the thing is, the names would be sometimes similar, and I would have to delete them, but because I was meeting projects, and then I wouldn't have time to delete them, or I still have to go back, and then I would end up with an enormous scroll, and I just couldn't find what I had. Okay? And also, I couldn't add URL. So if I had Jira tickets, and I wanted to add that to the same place that I had the projects of other folders, I just couldn't. And for me, there are programs out there. There are file explorers that you can purchase that will help you to do that, they will allow you to do that. However, why not do your own? It's actually something interesting that you might enjoy. Why not challenging yourself to do something for yourself? Because then you can customize it. So for example, I created in Biceps, this is one of my first projects, and I created something that would allow me to add the projects in here. And then when I click there, I could allow another folder in here. So I click here, the folders would be added in here. And then each one of the folders, so basically be favorites inside favorites, basically. And then I could add here, I could add a folder path, several folder paths, and I could also add URLs. What does this allow me to do? I can add the main folder of the project, I can add a Jira ticket, which will open straight away onto the Jira ticket online. I just need 2 clicks, and I also can double click and opens on the file explorer on the right folder. And this saves me huge headaches. I've been using it for 2 years. This is something I've done on my own, and it seems very simple. However, the help that it gave me personally over time was tremendous. So sometimes it might not be something that might look amazing, or you might think, oh, but this will never get me a job. But you've done something, and it's very important. You showed up for yourself, you showed up for what you want to eventually work for and work in, and does it actually help you? It does. It had a big impact in my case. Another thing, so I needed to the time how long I was taking making tasks, and how did they get to? I eventually did something similar as well. So I created something that allows me to add groups and tasks, and then I could have like some sort of a Pomodoro, which is actually very helpful. And then I know how long I spend in each task by day and by week. So another thing is organize awareness. Make sure you document your code. That's something when I started, I struggled because I wanted to document. I wanted to go back, and then I didn't know what was basically being. What did I do in that point, because I didn't document it. Anki is something related to repetitive learning. So eventually document what you've learned, so you never forget what you actually learn. Otherwise, you're just watching tutorials, but you're not actually retaining the knowledge that you've learned. Very important. Networking, this is the main reason, and the most important thing for you to get a job without having a degree is through networking. For example, last month I went to London GS, which is in London, and I've had someone telling me, hey, I was in a nightclub, and I was at 3 in the morning, speak to this guy, and this guy was also a tech dev that was hiring, and I was having an interview at 3 in the morning in a nightclub. How does that happen? I don't know, but it happens. Why? Because you're open to talking to other people and to understand, to tell people, I'm here, I want to work as a developer, and talk. You just never know where you're going to find it. But networking is the main reason and the most important way, I'd say, to actually get a job in industry is networking. Be open, go to the meetups. You're already here, so well done for that. And you just never know where that might lead you. I know that network can be daunting. It's hard. However, regardless of the job you are, regardless of the moment in life that you are, understand that you belong here, regardless of who you are. Okay? Now, coffee chats is very important, and I'm running out of time, I'm aware of that. So, coffee chats is, make sure LinkedIn, you never know. If you speak to people online and ask about them, some people might be able to tell you, hey, I can refer you for this job or not. Just no, have a go. You never know what might happen. And the last thing is just this thing I was going to do with the audience. So I'm going to have a few sentences on the screen. I'm going to say them, and I'm going to say, well done. I'm going to ask you for the audience to say it with me. Okay? So, today I wrote a line of code. Well done. Today, I got out of bed. Well done. Today, I started a new project. Well done. Okay, so I've had a lovely audience, okay, which is great. But the thing is, in real life, say the person that you want to share your victories with might be your close ones, might be your friends, and those people might not be as receptive to the victories that you might consider a victory as you would like them to be. So it's important to celebrate your victories, even if no one celebrates them with you. Thank you.
We've got time for literally one question. Does anyone have any questions? No? Oh.
You said that you used Anki to keep certain things that you learn while coding memorized. Can you give me like an example of like the kinds of things that you would bother to put into like Flashcard app?
Yeah, I mean anything like things like React, for example, like components, or specific things like things in Node.js, for example, the 200, 400, understanding what each one actually means, and from Code Wars as well, because like you have, for example, ways of basically sorting arrays and things like that. That sometimes is like, oh, that's actually a very good idea that you might not really go through when you're thinking. Yeah, basically some solutions I might find like I'll forget, so let me just keep reminding that.
Yeah, good.
Great. Thank you very much. It was close. So we're going to move on really quickly then to Kerry, who's a content creator, and it's her first year on YouTube. Big round of applause. She's never done this before. Woo!
Oh, thank you very much. I know it's a little bit different because most people in this room are tech related, and this is a bit creative for some of you, so hey ho. I will get some tech in there in a minute, I promise.
Hey, software engineering is a creative task.
It is. I had a slide about that and then I had to trim it. So I started Just Pick One UK actually as a blog to begin with. That was back in February last year. I started it as just to be able to write down whatever I felt like, because I felt like just ranting at the world for a little while. So I made a blog. Well, he made my blog for me, and and I realised some of the things that I was actually writing down were related to things that I wanted to put on YouTube. So I decided to merge the two. So now I have both. Sometimes I write things. This script that I've got will be on the blog later on today, so that would be great. But since I started on the 18th of May last year, these are my stats. So I've made 51 videos, 67 shorts. I've got 151 subscribers, 30,000 views, and 1,100 watch hours, which is pretty good going. Unfortunately, it's not enough for YouTube to give me money yet, but hey ho, we'll get there. We'll get there. The first thing I filmed was actually on my phone, and it was the unboxing of my gorgeous DJI Pocket, which is at the back of the room right now, and it has filmed the previous dev.talks as well. It was literally done on my phone with no script, no title, no proper thumbnail. That was made later. But it had 137 views and a comment from a really nice Australian man who says that he's decided to buy one because of my video. So that was really nice. And it made me a YouTuber, so that was great. One video is all you need to become a YouTuber, I've decided. So the rest of my videos have pretty much been predominantly my side project of 40 before 40 and travel videos that I've done since. So why did I get into YouTube in the first place? Well, I've been a lifelong YouTuber. I watch YouTube every single day, as I'm sure a fair few of you might as well. Either my travel creators or the how-to videos, especially recently for editing software when I just can't figure out how to get it right. There's a how-to on YouTube for something, and I just wanted a slice of that pie because I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So why not? So I decided I just wanted a slice of that pie, and that's where it started as my blog. So what's been the most difficult part about having a YouTube channel? Well, there's two main things. The first one being ideas. No one tells you what to make when you start. I'm sure many software engineers, as it is a more creative field than most people realise, you have a blank sheet of paper, you have an empty camera. No one tells you what to do. So you have to come up with the ideas in the very first instance. So far I've made what I want to make, and now I've a little bit more experience in how to make the videos. I'm going to be finding out what the audience actually wants. So I'm going to be doing deep dives into the search tools that YouTube has got to find out what people want to know, what are they searching for, so I can tailor my videos to suit them a little bit better. And the second one is time. You have to invest so much of yourself. You see the end credits at the end of a TV show, end of a film, the actor, the director, director of photography, sound, edit, PR. That's all me. You have to do all of it. You have to do absolutely all of it. It's quite daunting to begin with, but it is fun, so that's why I still do it. So time is a huge drain. It's a huge significant part. But not just that, there's the financial aspect as well, either developing the equipment that you use, or taking time off work, or time with your family. It takes time to invest in this, and you have to invest in yourself, in the creative side, with your energy and all that sort of thing. As well, to learn to improve, everything takes time. So, what's the best part about YouTube? The creativity, the freedom of expression, the freedom to actually learn something new. That's been really, really exciting. I get to choose what I get to make. All of those me's that I had on the previous slide, yeah, but I get to do all of that. That's great. I have complete creative freedom to do whatever I want. Whether that be something serious, I'm going to visit this place, I'm going to answer that question, or you found some Daleks down the road and decided to make something funny, which you can bet I made a funny video about Daleks. Have a look at my YouTube channel. The details are at the back if you want to see that. Yeah, literally a TARDIS and some Daleks, and just had a bit of fun for a minute and a half. So yeah, it's really, really good. And now I've put some time into learning how to make the videos. I can appreciate other people's work. Whenever I watch a video on YouTube, now I can say, oh, look at the edit on that. It's lovely. I imagine if you look at other people's code, you can go, oh, that's nice. Well done. That's lovely. It's really, really lovely, and it's lovely to meet other people that can appreciate the process as well. So, as this is a tech meetup, I thought I may as well talk some tech. So, the first thing is the cameras that I use, the physical technology. I've got a DJI Pocket, like I said, down there. It's a fantastic little camera for vlogging or for just bits and pieces, but it has filmed every dev.talk that you see on YouTube. It's filmed every single one. I upgraded that, and I've now got the DJI Action, which is filming down the front here. And between the two of them, I'll be moving forward with my videos. Both of them have slightly different things about them that make them brilliant. So I'm going to merge the two, hopefully, in the future and make some more videos, which is fantastic. Next up is the editing software. Now, so it's quite surprising to me that editing software can be free. Some of you amazing people make things like me, for me, the end user, to make it as easy as possible. And my go-to is CapCut, because it's incredibly easy to use, it's really user-friendly and quite simple, but it's got some really powerful basic things in there that really do elevate your videos from the first use, which is absolutely amazing. And AI. I have actually used AI, mostly ChatGPT. Don't come for me if that's a bad one. But you can use it for all sorts. It can give you ideas on what to make in the first instance. It can write your descriptions for you. It can give you suggested hashtags to put into your videos so that you can optimize for search engines and things like that. So if you really don't understand anything, chat to an AI and it will give you some information. I've also used it for images. So I've used it for making my 40x40 features and my logo in the first instance. And for these, I use Microsoft, which one was it? Designer, Microsoft Designer for these. Just tell it what you'd like it to make and it'll make you things. It'll make you something for a picture that I don't have a photo of, something for a new project, or background banners and logos. It's absolutely fantastic if you've not used it before. It's exactly the same like ChatGPT, but for pictures. And it works really, really, really well. And last month, we heard from Claudia, who was dealing with AI, and a follow-up thing was to make Mark and I into superheroes, and I asked it to make that for us. And it did, and it ended up on LinkedIn, so that's quite fun. Put the suit on. Yeah, everyone turned up a bit early tonight. And design software. A thumbnail is one of the most important things you can have on YouTube to get noticed in the first instance. So for design software, all of these are thumbnails that I have made for my YouTube channel. This was a series, so I decided to keep all these the same, and I'm currently running with something along this vein at the moment to try and catch people's eye. But for all of these, I used Canva. Again, free software. May as well make use of it. Again, very user-friendly. It's got so many different templates, and they're all optimized for Instagram, for TikTok, for YouTube, Facebook. They've got lots and lots of different templates that are so easy to manipulate and make, hopefully you agree, fairly nice images that make you easy to spot. So, does YouTube suit everyone? No, absolutely not. It can be quite lonely making videos on your own, but it can suit anyone. All you need to get started is that. That's it. You can get CapCut on your phone if you wanted to, wander around the street like a loony like this, talking to yourself. No one cares. In this day and age, wandering around with a camera, everyone goes, oh, another YouTuber. It's not scary, it's not difficult at all. But most of all, making YouTube videos should be fun. It should be fun, because if you're not enjoying it, what are you doing it for, basically? So anyone who has access to a camera and has access to a laptop or to a phone can make YouTube videos. It's really straightforward. And so I'm really, really enjoying it. And if you want to get started on your own YouTube journey, just press record. Anyway, thank you very much. Hope it's given you a little insight. If anyone's got any questions about the world of YouTube, ask me. I might know. Yes, see me.
I want to know, what is your most popular video that you've uploaded so far?
My most popular video is my solo cruise video that I did last year. I went on MSC's Virtuoso around to Northern Europe and literally wandering around a ship with my camera like this in front of my face, wandering around, and over 4,000 people have watched it. So that's really, really cool. The next most popular was the rest of that series, and then after that was when I tried to get on another cruise ship and it went wrong. Literally a picture of my face going on it. Where's the thumbnail? And yeah, that blew up. Got over 1,000 views on that one. So yes.
I have a slightly more kind of businessy question.
Sure, yeah.
So you must have in mind like what the point is where you've like broken even on all this investment in kit that you've got.
Yeah.
Do you have like a path to get to that, and what does like the path to success look like, and what does success look like to you?
Ideally, I'd love to make it a full-time job. I'd love to be able to get monetized, and for that you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours per year in order to maintain monetization from YouTube. But there are other revenue streams that you can pull in: sponsors, sponsorship. Anyone looking to sponsor a YouTuber, that would be lovely. Come and chat to me afterwards. So you can get brand deals and things like that. You can say, hi, today is sponsored by HelloFresh. You've probably seen them. You can get brand deals and things like that to get money to come in that way, or you can get goods and things like that sent to you if you get big enough. I'm still working on that, getting that. Otherwise, my current revenue stream is Mark. He's been very, very patient with me, to be fair. But yes, it does all cost money. So literally going to businesses and trying to drum up revenue, or you can do it as a side just to get started while you're doing things alongside there. Yeah. Yes.
Have you thought about putting an affiliate link for your DJI cameras?
I have. I think with
That Australian guy would have been 40 quid or something.
that would have been amazing. Unfortunately, a lot of the affiliates, especially the likes of Amazon and what have you, you need to have 1,000 subscribers before they'll even look at you, which is a shame. But yeah, I have been in touch with the likes of Surfshark VPN, which is really cool, just for funsies. And I've contacted every single cruise line asking them to go on a press event. That would be lovely. I've had one reply. But so the more you do, the more content you put out there, the more you get yourself out there, the more people are likely to be able to tune in and see what you're offering. And the next step for me is definitely working on the what are people asking for, and any connections that I can make, maybe with travel companies, and definitely affiliate links and things like that. Yeah, that's the next step. Yeah, yes, Lucy.
Are you trying to work to like a schedule, like you drop one every week or something, or is it more as life gives you a chance to do it?
At the moment, I started out because I had the series going with the cruise and things like that. You can schedule it a little bit more. I mean, the ideal is to try and find out when your audience is actually there. Unfortunately, until you put videos out, they don't have the data for you to tell you when your audience is online. But my lot seem to be there on Tuesday nights and Saturday nights. So now I know if I drop something at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, chances are they'll probably watch it at 8 p.m. and things like that. So again, the more videos you have, the more data YouTube can give you, and then you can work on it. It's really tricky when you first begin because you don't have any data to work from. So you don't know where you're going wrong, where you're going right, things like that. But all I can say is, please, if someone does say like and subscribe, it actually really, really does help a YouTube channel. I know they all say it, but it absolutely does. The like button tells YouTube that you're doing a good job. And also it gives us a really lovely ego boost that you've done something right. If you don't like something, put it in the comments. Please put it in the comments, because every comment tells YouTube that someone's engaging with it, which boosts it to other people. So every single thing that you can do as the watcher, like on it, subscribe or comment, really, really does help, because then we can, as YouTubers, we can learn what we're doing wrong. And without that data, it's really hard to figure out how do I get things right. So yeah, that's you have one takeaway, please like and subscribe, because it really does help, especially small channels like mine. So yeah, thank you. All right. Let's come back to the book.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, everyone. Where did Andrew go? Did you
I
see
don't know,
him?
he disappeared.
Okay. Yeah, could you? So, oh, one sec. Let me. So Andrew Emery is the gentleman who's working with America States here to do lots of changes here to the Cottonwood and the hotels around it as well. The next door, that one, the one across the road, they're all kind of derelict is probably the wrong term, certainly empty at the moment. And they're doing big things here. I was hoping he'd come and tell you this, but as far as I know, they're building like a film studio next door in the hotel next door, which is in a room slightly bigger than this. Upstairs here in the bright pink room that you saw, they're turning that into a cafe, which is a really beautiful room up there. Kerry needs to finish her talk. And they're doing loads of things. What do you call them? The shelters down on the beach huts that are down there, the ones that are about to be removed so they can do the pier improvements. I think they're going to try and bring some of the older ones up here, somewhere up here for a tourist attraction. They're doing lots of things, and he's disappeared. So you'll just have to put up with me. So that's the dude. He's around here somewhere. And they're doing lots of things, and they want to engage the community. They're very much about trying to engage the community. Things like here, like we could do dev.talk here, and we'll probably be using this venue multiple times in the future. So they are interested in getting the community involved. You can email him, and he might respond in a few days. He's a very busy man. Right, so enough of that. Hopefully he'll come and perhaps tell you some proper things. Let's now go and have a break. Oh, that one. There we go. So, America States, that's who owns the building. Reconnect just changed their logo. Thanks, Simi, for changing all my graphics. So you'll have to put up with both the graphics for the next few months until I can be bothered to change them all. Thanks for that. So, as always, Reconnect, just pick one. Supporters of this. Go have a drink. Let's go talk to each other. Hello everyone. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed your chatting. Everybody wants to keep talking, so that's good, I hope. So quick question, do you think we should have more talks or networking in the future? Anybody care? What?
Outright.
Outright? Good balance? Okay. Every time we do this, it will be different depending on the length of the talk. So I do try and balance it a bit, but doesn't always work. So interesting to get some feedback. Good. Well, we're going to start off now with George, head of software development, who's going to try and convince us all to use PHP. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
So yeah, as Mark said, I'm George. I work for a local software agency called Yammer. Bit of a mouthful, but you get used to it. I've been working with PHP for sort of 15 years and then dabbling a bit before then with college and university and what have you. So 20 years or so now. For the past 10 years, been building sort of Laravel applications, which is a PHP-based framework that we'll do a bit more about in a minute. And yeah, outside of work, I'll be either playing golf or on travelling somewhere. So obviously today we're here to talk about PHP. I know a lot of you are .NET developers or Python, and not many PHP people out there. There's a few. One of my team. Just one. Try to bring some support, but... so has anyone used PHP recently? Apart from you. No, okay. Why not? What puts you off? What's your opinion? What have you heard?
It's dead, isn't it?
Yep, that's a common one.
Is that object-oriented? Oh my God, that's so disappointing.
Well, I mean, obviously, a lot of you are right. People do say it's dead and not worth using anymore, and .NET's brilliant, or Python, or PHP's had its time, but actually, the past few years, it's coming back to life a little bit. So, looking at some stats online, it seems pretty popular. Looking at other back-end languages, miles ahead. Why would you not want to use it? But then a similar report from a company called builtwith.com, I think it's fallen off a cliff in the past couple of years. So, slightly different outlook. But then again, we can go and look at the bigger ecosystem. So we've got a package repository in PHP called Packagist, similar to NPM if you're in the JavaScripty world. And that's looking pretty healthy. The number of packages is growing steadily year on year on year. But then you go and have a look at GitHub and look at pull requests that are using PHP, and this is something different. What's going on? It's a real mixed opinion out there. Hey, you can't always trust what you read on the internet. Stats can go one way or the other. So, I mean, what are people's opinions? There's a pretty famous blog post now about PHP, and this is quite a standout quote, which I'll give you a minute to read.
I mean, this is not biased at all.
No. I'm meant to be telling you it's great, but...
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, it was pretty strong. The full article's linked down there, and we'll share these afterwards, but she makes some pretty good points, which we'll have a look at in a moment. But then you look online, and it's, of course, full of memes everywhere on the internet. So start looking for PHP tutorials, and then give up 5 minutes later. And a similar one, the best practices, don't bother.
I thought you were trying to convince us to.
We're getting there.
All right.
We're getting there. Got to paint a bad image first to make us look better, haven't we? And then there's this one, which hopefully you can see at the back, but it gets a little darker. No one's going to miss PHP when it's gone. Luckily, it's not going anywhere. But where does all that negative opinion and hate come from? like you just said earlier, PHP's dead, isn't it? And that's the general attitude that people have now. It's not considered a cool language. The universities and colleges aren't teaching it like they were 15, 20 years ago. It's sort of fallen off a cliff a little bit. So why? Why don't people like it? And the type system is one of those reasons that gets a lot of criticism and has done in the past. So PHP is like a dynamically typed language. So something like Java, where you'll be defining what types are. So my variable is going to be a Boolean, it's going to be an integer, it's going to be a string. In PHP, it's dynamic. You don't have to do that. And then at runtime, it works out what type it is by the value you've assigned it. So it can be really easy to get started, but as you'll see in a minute, there's some interesting choices that it makes. So we've got a little code example here. So a little switch statement. We're assigning a variable 0, and then depending on its value, we'll print out either A, B, or C. So any guesses what's going to happen?
I can't even look at the code.
Is it that bad?
I'm guessing you're going to say it's not going to be B.
Okay, we'll find out. So yeah, it should be B, surely. That makes sense. You'd hope. And as of recent times, yeah, it does. But it's only been that way for a few years. So we've only had that since 2020. Sort of a few years ago, you would have got A, and you'll be thinking, what on earth is going on there? And you'd be right, what is going on? How does it come to that conclusion? Well, because we started off with an integer of 0, but then the first case we come to in our statement is a string. So PHP then goes, you probably meant to pass me a string the first time round, didn't you? And when it does that, it converts... sorry, let me start again. It's given, we gave our variable an integer to start with. It comes to the first case and tries to convert that value to an integer. So it turns our string to an integer, which is 0, and that's why we get A and doesn't get down to the rest of it, which is a bit odd. And then we've got another example. So hopefully you can, at least my guys at the front can see the start of that, but we've got two strings, one beginning with 0E4, and another one 0E8, and then a load of long digits. So do we think they're equal to each other?
No.
No, they are. So what's going on there? We're using the equality operator. They should be equal.
It's not using length comparison, is it?
It's not. So
No. Probably the beginning.
It'd be really funky reading like the OE of scientific notation.
you've got it. So seeing the scientific notation 0E4, turning it into a float, and they both go to 0.0, and therefore they're equal. But you're not really likely to come across that ever, are you? You're never going to be comparing numbers like that. Well, you might. I mean, hopefully no one's using sort of hashing algorithms like MD5 for anything too encryption and serious, or passwords. However, you never know what's going to come back from those. And in that case there, hashing those two strings gives you similar numbers, and there you go. So in the old days where people were using less secure hashing algorithms, that was a real problem. You didn't know what was going to come back. But luckily, in the past few years, we've now got something called strict types, which you can enable, and all those problems magically go away if you can get over defining a value with an integer, which probably should have been a Boolean with true or false, but interesting choice. But it's not just the type system that gets a lot of criticism. There's a lot of unexpected behaviours as well that you might come across in this great language. Here's some documentation for a function that deals with some image transformation. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? It'll return true if it works or false if it doesn't. Apart from that other case, if it fails, then it will still return true. Fun. Or dealing with dates and times. As developers, we know that that isn't always as straightforward as it sounds, especially dealing with time zones and date formats. Luckily, we've got standards for that, right? Things like ISO 8601 format a commonly date stamp and time. But no, PHP's implementation isn't compatible, and they've left it like that. It took them too long for them to realise, and rather than breaking backwards compatibility, it was left like that forever. It's not going to get much better, unfortunately. So let's talk about some functions. It gets a lot of criticism for inconsistency. So like on the top row there, NL to BR converts a new line to a BR tag in HTML, but the next one, string to upper, number 2, word 2. Different, inconsistent. And the same again on the second line here. One separated with underscores, one not separated at all. And so on further down as well. File get contents, separated with underscores. F open, this time file's been shortened to F. And then the bottom one, file M time, still starts with file, but this time there's no underscores separating. It's just really inconsistent, and for someone new trying to learn that, back 10, 15 years ago when we didn't have AI and such great auto-completion, that was a real annoyance for people. All these little quirks that you've got to remember in your head. But it's not just the naming either. The order of parameters that you pass to functions is, of course, different for different functions. So in the first one, you pass the subject first, and then the value you're searching for. But then when you want to replace something, you put the term you're searching for first, and the subject last. Again, inconsistencies from a few years ago. That AI, obviously, in auto-completion helps us now, but might have been a challenge historically. So given all of that hate and valid criticism, I think, no one bothers using this stuff, do they? Well, it turns out they do. There's quite a few big names out there that are known to be using PHP. Obviously, we all know Facebook is one of those famous ones that was built on it back in the day, but there's lots of other big names out there that are using PHP somewhere in their technology stack. The one I thought was an interesting example was Slack. A lot of that back end is apparently built in PHP originally, and I believe a good chunk of it still is. And then you've got the White House running on WordPress, PHP based. Keep your opinions to yourself on WordPress, but PHP is to be considered the foundation of the web, and it's not just WordPress that tooling that we've got. We've got a whole range of frameworks and other tools that are often open source that are free to use. So we've got frameworks like Laravel, Symfony, and Slim, all offering something different. Laravel gives you a great out-the-box, batteries included, rapid application development structure. Symfony will give you something a lot more traditional, so a lot better architected for those bigger applications. We've then got all sorts of content management platforms that are, of course, built on PHP, WordPress, Moodle, Joomla, Drupal, then obviously other e-commerce based platforms like Magento as well, which power some really big e-commerce platforms. But a lot of those are sort of open source as well, so they're all under conditions free to use. And no one really takes free stuff seriously, do they? Well, it turns out Silicon Valley do. late last year, the Laravel framework got $57 million worth of investment, which for PHP that's dead and no one uses is a sizable amount of cash coming into the ecosystem. So with that much money floating around and big names using it, what is PHP? How is it managed? Who's working on this as a language? Who's behind it? It's not like .NET where there's Microsoft sat behind it. So PHP was first released as an open source project back in '95, which some of you may remember, some of you may not. And anyone can contribute. It's an open source language. It's written in C fundamentally. And anyone can contribute. People can submit ideas for the framework, or contribute towards code and maintaining that at a language level. Yeah, we get yearly releases, and each sort of release cycle will last 2 years with active development, and then we get another 2 years of bug fixes, so a 4-year lifespan for each version of PHP that comes out. So companies can rely on it. It's a pretty consistent pattern now, which we've had for a few years, so there's constant development going into that. But there was a problem a few years ago. There weren't many core developers working on the language itself. They got down to just 2 people maintaining this language that powers something like 70% of the web. And you can imagine what would happen if they both had a problem. So the bus factor, as it's known. But luckily, a couple of years ago, a company called JetBrains, who make a lot of IDEs, not just for PHP, but for Python and other languages too, started the PHP Foundation. So they put a load of money into this open source non-profit organisation, along with other interested parties in PHP, so like the Laravel framework, Automatic, the company behind WordPress, Symfony, one of the other frameworks we saw earlier, as well as even the German government put a big chunk of funding into this foundation. And they now employ around 10 to 15 developers to maintain and work on the language, some full-time, some part-time. And they're now tidying up a lot of those horrible inconsistencies and weird edge cases that we saw earlier. So one guy's job is now to go through and look at the type system. So those weird comparisons we saw earlier is to go through and tidy some of those up, get them working how a human might expect them to work. And as part of that, obviously there's a big community in the PHP world, but apparently not in this room. So there's user groups around the world similar to this, but purely dedicated to PHP. And there's a whole massive bunch of them in Europe, quite a few over in America, and a few others dotted around the world. But the amount of pins on there, it's pretty popular. We used to have one locally called PHP Dorset, but that unfortunately fell victim to COVID and never came back to life. But there's others around locally, London, Bristol, I think there's one over in Portsmouth way as well. So there's a few skirting round us, but not here, unfortunately. But as well as that, we've got lots of big conferences as well. WordCamp, for if you're in the WordPress world. Even in the UK, we've got PHP UK, which was in London a couple of weeks ago. Even the frameworks themselves are now becoming big events. Laravel Live and Laracon for the Laravel framework. As you can see by the photos down below, they attract a pretty big audience. It's not 10 guys sat in a room coding away on their own, like the traditional image might give you. So if you want to get started with PHP, where should you start? Well, we've got great tooling for local development. We've got great IDEs like PHP Storm and Visual Studio Code, which, despite being Microsoft, has great PHP support. We've got tools like Docker for running locally, and then there's lots of tooling built on top of that now to help with local development, giving you a out-the-box platform to get started. If you're a Mac user, we've got Homebrew, which is obviously a package manager for Mac for installing software, and that It's got PHP tooling built in to make it easier to get started. Got tools like Laravel Valet and MAMP, if some of you more experienced in the room remember tools like MAMP and WAMP from the early 2000s. Laravel have now recently released their own called Herd, which gives you PHP, a web server, and databases all bundled into one application, all managed through a GUI, platform agnostic, so it'll run on Mac and Windows, out the box, one click, and you're up and running. We've also got a great suite of development tools as well. So there's another organisation called the PHP Fig, which set a lot of coding standards and what's the right word I'm looking for? Sort of standards for interfaces. So if a lot of people that work with file systems or email sending, they set a lot of standards so people can write their own packages that all conform to the same standard. We've got tooling for testing, which is super important. We've got PHP Unit, Pest, Codeception, Behat, all covering different aspects of a testing lifecycle. We've got tools like Packagist for managing dependencies. We've got Pi, which is a new PHP extension manager. So if you're lucky enough to know C and want to develop your own extensions to the language, we've now got an installer to work for those, which was again, the work of that PHP foundation that we mentioned earlier. We've got other tools like PHP Stan for static analysis, where it's a weakly typed language. We've got tooling that can now run on top of that and help understand the types in your code to make sure you're not introducing a bug. You're not trying to loosely compare strings like we saw earlier. So despite those problems, there's now tooling around to help work around those issues until they are fixed down at the language level. As well as obviously local development, you then need to get your code running somewhere. So we've got the PHP runtime itself, which traditionally runs on Linux servers, nice and easy, but can run under Windows now as well. And one of the historic complaints was how slow PHP was. We've now got tools like Franken PHP, Swool and Roadrunner, which operate in a very different way. Traditionally, a web request would come in, PHP will handle that, it would boot up your whole framework for you, run through all your bootstrap code every time for every request. With tools like we just mentioned with Franken PHP and Roadrunner, a lot of that framework code is now held in memory, so it will skip all that repetitive stuff on every web request that comes in. It can save you a good 30 to 50% of time for your script. We've got lots of tools for hosting as well, so things like Laravel Forge for provisioning virtual servers. We've got serverless platforms that support PHP. Tools like Laravel Vapor and Breath have tooling specifically for PHP. We've got sort of platform as a service hosting environments as well. Tools like Laravel Cloud and Engine Yard, where you just point it at your Git repository and it deals with the rest. You don't have to think about how it's running. But what can you do with PHP? It's traditionally web-based, isn't it? Well, yeah, it is. So these are a few of the projects we've worked on at work recently. So traditional e-commerce platforms are a great fit, web-based. But it can go beyond that. We're not just talking about rendering web pages. We build a lot of software for businesses that have a lot of logic. So we've built a whole schedule manager for a local visual effects company. But it gets a bit more interesting as well. We work with a local company that makes decking to go around holiday homes. So we've built them a platform where they can plumb in the holiday home and then decking around that. It'll tell them what size wood they need to cut, what size plastic decking to make, feed that into their factory, into their machinery, and it will cut out all their materials to size. It produces a kit list for them down to the number of screws they need to put this thing together, depending whether you're on your holiday home's on a hill or not. So there's a lot of sort of geospatial calculations going on in the background. Another project we've worked on, again written all in PHP, was to work with some of the data sets from like the land registry and Ordnance Survey to scan people's back gardens, essentially, every residential plot of land in the UK. Got the data sets for those, analysed those, looked at dimensions, looked at local planning regulations. Is the opportunity for a developer to build in that space? And I'm running out of time, so I'll skip forward a little bit. But it's not just web-based stuff that you can do. As developers, a lot of us are at home in the command line in a terminal, so we can build nice terminal applications, but not just black and white text anymore. There's a lot of nice tooling around to give some interactivity there. We can also take it a step further. So there's a project now called Native PHP, which allows you to build desktop applications in PHP. So again, there's always a concept of the right tool for the right job, but if all you know is PHP and you need a little helpful desktop application, you can now do that. So they've obviously got interfaces to all your local like window management, file management APIs for Windows, Mac, Linux. Recently, they've taken it a step further, and you can now build whole mobile apps in PHP. So they've managed to get PHP running natively on iOS, and they've now got apps in the App Store, which Apple have even approved, all written in PHP. So there's a lot you can do with it. A lot of reasons to come and give it a try. It's never too late. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Does anybody have any questions for George?
No, but first of all, thank you very much for the talk. It's really interesting and very timely for me because it's might be something I might have to deal with soon.
Deal with.
From a manager perspective. And I was just wondering, in your experience, what's the story like with respect to handling transitions to new major versions of PHP? So I know that quite a lot's changed in version 8. Some really good stuff in there.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah. Is it like nasty broken changes, or is it?
In the past, as you say, in the past 4 or 5 years, breaking changes have come down significantly. As you said, 8.0 was a massive release about 5 years ago. Ever since then, yeah, they're trying really hard not to introduce as many breaking changes. Obviously, it depends on your application and the code base you've got. How is that written to begin with? But generally, it's pretty smooth in the past few years. The jump from sort of the older days of 5.4, 5.5 up to 7, that was quite painful. But yeah, recently, relatively smooth.
What are some of the strengths? I mean, again, thank you. So what are some of the strengths that you find for PHP in comparison to
other languages?
Yeah. Like, why would you choose PHP?
Easy to get started. I think it's one of the big points. Anyone can pick it up. You don't need any expensive licensing. There's free tooling for working locally. It runs anywhere. You can even run it off a USB stick these days. There's plenty of open source tutorials out there. Lots of open source frameworks like Laravel and Symfony that give you so much out of the box to get started. Yeah, easy to use, lots of content, big community. Not in this room, but I promise you there's some out there.
Well, I'll answer that because I used to use Laravel quite a lot. I can say that years ago. Really good framework. I can't hold it. It's such a good framework.
Yeah.
I don't need to take time using PHP because I can do any bad stuff is probably hidden away, and also nowadays the versions, obviously the higher versions that we have, a lot of that stuff can be dealt with.
That's it. There's solutions to most of the common complaints or historic hate towards it. At the back. Hello.
From someone that used PHP when it was PHP 5,
Yeah.
even though I don't use it anymore. But it definitely allows any individual, even if he hasn't got a background or education for it, to quickly start in development. I know most people will start with AI these days, but from my point of view, you learning PHP, you're going to learn a lot of how the web of today is done. People seem to forget, but the vast majority of the biggest multi-billion pound companies out there are based on PHP. Let's never forget that. And I remember, for me that has no education whatsoever, PHP was like a whole new world when I started, even though I've moved on from it. But anyone can literally start scripting in PHP. All these beautiful movies and series you watch about programming, you will find out that PHP is always at the base of it.
Absolutely. It's easy to pick up at any level as well. All you need is a text editor. That's it. You can get going, you can write. The syntax is relatively simple. Yeah, and once you get going, it's easy. There's so many free tutorials, free help out there. Unfortunately, the colleges and universities aren't pushing it as much as they used to, especially locally, we've noticed. With Bournemouth Uni, unfortunately, haven't got that on the syllabus anymore.
I will say, I graduated this year, like 4 years ago at least, they were doing Laravel and PHP. It was a web, one of the web applications.
Okay, that's interesting. A few of the graduates who've been speaking to recently have all come from Python background and heavily been pushed towards that, and Node and that sort of stuff for web-based. Yeah. That's it. It's not cool. It's not fun anymore, but...
Have there many companies demanding PHP? I think in the talk earlier, I learned Java for JP Morgan, so is there a demand as well for
PHP, yeah, absolutely. Especially locally, there's quite a few companies around. Again, we're not talking JP Morgan scale companies, especially locally, that are using PHP. There's several agencies locally. There's a few in-house products that are built on PHP. So many people probably heard of OnBuy, sort of the Amazon competitor. They were Bournemouth based and they're all PHP. I believe they started on their own framework and have recently transitioned to Laravel based. There's remote opportunities these days. So if you don't want to stay local, or you do want to stay local and have that luxury of sitting on the beach and earning a London wage from home, there's definitely a strong demand in London for PHP jobs.
So my introduction to PHP was because I was using Drupal, which is based in PHP, and I needed to write custom modules. Would you recommend that kind of soft entry to PHP in any way? And if so, which of the content management systems would you sort of say try?
That's really interesting, because I guess in that case you're learning two things, aren't you? You're learning the platform and you're learning the language.
The platform's relatively easy to learn, and then it's only when you think, oh, but how does that work? Because I need to just tweak this to what I want. So then you start looking into the
language and
stuff and how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, as much as people have their opinions of it, WordPress is obviously the easy one to pick up because it is so ubiquitous and everywhere. There's a lot of content around there for that. So that's probably an easy one to, if you want to pick up a tool and the language at the same time. And again, where it's open source, there's a massive, massive community around that can support you.
Good, that looks it. Thank you very much, George. Do you want to get your sponsorship in there for me? Looks like there's a job available at Yammy.
Yeah, we're hiring for senior PHP developers, but it sounds like the wrong room for that, so didn't mention it.
No takers? Right.
But,
great, thank you very much.
Even if you're not a senior, come and have a chat if you're looking to get started in PHP at some level while we don't have anything today for you. Yeah,
Toby right here might be interested.
Had a little chat with Toby already. Come and have a chat with us at some point in the year. We'll likely be looking for juniors or people of different experience levels, so you never know what might come.
Great. Thank you very much, George. Thank you. Please hold the line. Your call is very important to me. Somebody want to sing a song? Do you want me to sing a song?
You're going to dance, won't you?
Oh yeah, dancing, that's right. Oh, that'll work. Right, we're very nearly done. Oh yeah, George. So thanks again to all our speakers. They put in a huge effort to come here tonight to produce their talks, or the practice involved, the fact they have to talk to me a lot. I mean, there's a huge amount of strain that they go through to be here tonight. And I think this time they're all local. In April and last time as well, they were coming from London. So we're getting a lot of draw for speakers. And it does take an effort, but that shows what the community is willing to do. So again, thank you all for the speakers. You all did brilliantly tonight. Thank you all to the volunteers. Where's Jazz? Can't see him. He's always hiding. Hi, Jazz. Thanks for your help on the front door and for all the other things you're doing, and for Kerry for all the filming and the editing. She's going to edit it. She doesn't know. Shh. And thank you for our supporters. Reconnect conference, we'll come back to in a moment. Just pick one for the cameras, and for Merrick Estates for providing the space for tonight. I want to remind you, lots of ways to contact us, and when I say us, I mean me. I'm lonely, clearly. Email Blue Sky. I've actually spoken to people on Blue Sky. Hi, Emma. LinkedIn is the obvious one. That's the one I generally advertise on. Discord, we have a server. I think we might be up to 12 people. Apparently, I need to stand here. Sorry, am I not in shot? Trust the YouTuber. Discord server, come chat. There must be 2 or 3 messages a week on there, so it's really kicking off in there now. I mean, it's quite hard to keep track. The fact that I have 2 accounts and most of them are me, but that's not the point. The other thing I should point out is Eventbrite, which is how you all got your tickets. The one thing, we've just changed our Eventbrite account. So we're still within Eventbrite. It's still called dev.talk, but it's a different account we're using. So if you are following us in the old account, you won't see April's tickets and those going forward. I promise I'll only ever do it once, but we've brought the Eventbrite back into dev.talk as opposed to Reconnect that it was before. We still love Reconnect, so let's talk about them. Reconnect conference. Go on. Oh, look. I made that. So Reconnect conference is happening on July 4th here in the local area. You can see the lineup here is really cool. There's those things. Oh, look, Adam, there's you. Where's Adam? There you are. Look, you're on screen. Oh, you've gone. It'll loop around. So we have several speakers in the room. Claudia, who spoke last time at dev.talk, she's going to do our lock note, so that's really cool. She's very good. And of course, the magnificent Kevlin Henny is going to open it all for us. Huge amount of work going into that, but it's got a full agenda now, and there's not very many tickets left. So if you want them, get them. So you might be interested in that. 10% off. Our next dev.talk event is April 23rd, and you might keep this bit quiet. I still don't have that stamp on the paper, but it looks like it'll be at the Bournemouth University up at Talbot campus. And from the sounds of it, we might have a giant lecture theatre available to us. But the date is set April 23rd, and the tickets will go on sale probably tomorrow. Sale, allocate. So jump in and get them, again, on the new Eventbrite account. I also wanted to point out all the other local tech-based events. There's loads of them. Tectonic is the obvious one because George was there last time. The time before that. Bournemouth 2600, I think Iris is in the room. She is. Hello, taking a picture. You go to Bournemouth 2600, don't you? Yeah. So, and CyberSec Women's in there. Again, that's Iris. Yeah, there's loads of other events happening in the local area within about an hour from here. Some of them Southampton-based. So you don't have to come to dev.talk. You can go to these, but it'd be nice if you went to dev.talk as well. But have a look. Some of these, I'm not quite sure how active they are. Certainly Tectonic is, Bournemouth 2600 is. I'm not sure about the Umbraco meetup is running so much at the moment. Anybody know of any others? Let me know. These are all listed on our website, on the dev.talk website. I update them when I find more. It's nice to build our community. So, audience photo time. Oh, is the YouTuber going to do it or am I going to do it? Because I keep forgetting taking photos. I keep forgetting to take photos. So let's take a photo. Right.
Can you highlight your nails?
Oh, highlight my nails. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Right, 3, 2, 1, silly faces. Cheese.
I should use my better camera, shouldn't I? Get you all in 4K. There we go.
Good, thank you. And if you have any photos of tonight, share them. I'll try and put them into a photo album so we can all have a look at them. They're not shared widely, but they are there. It's good. So thanks for coming tonight. It's great to see so many people here in the room. Our community is getting bigger every time. I think the next venue will allow us even to be bigger again. We've got a bit more time to chat tonight, but we are going to start packing up around you all as well. Speakers, can I get a group photo before you all disappear? And that's it, I think. So thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it, and it's really nice for you to come out on a Wednesday night and hopefully learn a bit and perhaps hate PHP a little bit less. Just a smidge.